honest. Have you ever judged a book by its cover? Have you ever judged a person by his or her cover? Well, you're not alone. So has Andy in The Whole Stringa Street. The short story, The Strangers That Came to Town, by Ambrose Flack, is about a family that has moved into town. They were definitely judged by the way they looked and by their poorness. Would this bad image of them ever change? Would they ever gain the respect they deserve? There was a very strange, yet interesting character in the story, Mrs. Duvich. Even though they had been neighbors for years, Mrs. Duvich is a character that nobody knows lots about. In Section 3, when Mrs. Duvich crosses the road for the first time, her voice, thin and wispy from fright and shock, was difficult to follow. It may seem like her voice was this way for crossing the road, but it was not. A very interesting part of this short story was in the very beginning, when a Duvich boy ran across the street to give Andy's family a gift, after Andy's mother sent over some food. "I send them a few scraps of food," murmured Mother, a few seconds later, deeply touched, "and get this queenly gift." By the way, the gift was a tiny, very shapely potted rose tree, an exquisite pink tip bud, the handsomest plant, and the only plant of its kind ever seen in that neighborhood. Although this story has many tones, one of them is eerie. For example, in the beginning of the story, the author talks about a dark and stormy day. The 1st of April came dark and stormy, with silver whips of lightning cracking open the lowering clouds that seemed to skim the treetops. Last, but most certainly not least, is the theme. Despite the fact that there are many themes, one of them is don't judge a book by its cover. The Duviches definitely turned out much differently than everyone believed. Andy's father basically sums up this in the last line. "Who would have dreamed that the Duviches would have so much more to offer us than we have to offer them?" Without any doubts, if you're feeling like an oddball or just looking for a beautiful story, definitely check out The Strangers That Came to Town. Just a little motto, you give a lot, you get a lot. Check out the story to see what I mean.